Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and I love board games. I've played over 6,000 different board games. I rate board games on my channel. I review board games all the time, and I hate Monopoly. Now, before you write that very mean negative comment, I'm going to explain a little bit why I don't like Monopoly in this video. But before I get to that, I also want to point out that if you like Monopoly, that's fine. I'm glad you like it. This is more of a personal thing. This is why I'm not a fan of Monopoly. I also want to give credit to where credit's due. I played Monopoly as a small child, and I really enjoyed it. I did not have the diversity and knowledge of games that I have today. I would give it a very apt comparison to me as McDonald's. As a kid, I thought McDonald's was the greatest restaurant on earth. Nowadays, I probably wouldn't want to eat there. I don't really enjoy McDonald's food. But I don't look down on people who do like McDonald's food. I don't look down on people who do enjoy Monopoly. So if you do, more power to you. Secondly, you're probably saying, Vasel, you've probably been playing Monopoly wrong. Well, no, actually, we play Monopoly correctly. But even with the correct rules, which are infinitely better than the People's House rules, I still don't enjoy it. Here's why. Number one, I do not like the component quality of this game. It's cheap. And yes, I know that's part of Hasbro's shtick because Hasbro's trying to sell 600 million of these a year. But when you open up the box and you look inside, these plastic houses, and oh man, do I miss the nice wooden house of the past, aren't very good. The best thing are these metal pieces. These are great, even if they did get rid of the iron and the cannon and now have a raptor and a shutter cat. But you know, the metal pieces do work very well. The cards, though, come on now. This is 2018. Why do we sell pointy cards which easily bend? They're really thin, and they don't look very exciting at all. The community chest and chance cards are the same way. Not only that, but they got rid of the classic Monopoly art. That's fine, and they updated it with art that looks like it came from some Monopoly computer game or something. And they're in black and white. This whole thing is just nonsensical. But worst of all for me is this. Paper money. Now, in real life, we use paper money a lot, but that paper money is unterrible for the most part. It's very durable, and people around the world mostly like to use coins and credit cards instead. This money is only on one side. It's going to bend really easily. It's a pain. People lick their fingers to pass it around, which is kind of gross, and I just don't like it. There's a tray for it, but really, there's just not a lot going on in this, and the board itself, all right, the board's okay, I guess. It's just not very good quality. The second main reason is luck. Hey, you roll dice and you go there and then you decide what you're going to do. If you roll on your first couple turns and you don't get any properties, you're not going to do well that game. It doesn't matter how shrewd of a trader you are, unless the other players are nincompoops, you're going to have a hard time. And if you roll and you land on someone's property and you roll again and land on their property, then you're going to probably lose the game, especially if they have a lot of properties there and you run out of money. And you say, well, that's the thing about Monopoly. Yes, and I don't necessarily mind luck. I love dice. Dice are fantastic. But dice are not as fantastic when you're playing a game that is a minimum of 2 hours long. I also don't like boring spaces. Free parking is a boring space. You land there and nothing happens. Just visiting jail is the same way. You say, but yeah, well, you can spice up Monopoly by putting money on free parking or putting money in the middle of the board. And anytime you pay the bank, you add some more money to that. And eventually when someone lands at free parking, they get all that money. Well, that sounds good in theory, but what it does is it puts a lot of cash into the game, dragging Monopoly out from being a fun 90-minute game, maybe, into something that can take 5 or 6 hours and last forever. Another rule that people often ignore is if you land on a property and you can't pay for it, then it's auctioned off to all the players, which is an interesting thing. But since you should always buy a property if you can get one because you don't get to land on them because of luck, it is what it is. But either way, that's a boring space. So is a space that sends you to jail. So is a luxury task. So is just visiting. And when I play a game, I want my turn to be exciting, and landing on boring spaces doesn't help. I'm also not a fan of the unimaginative trading. If I have 2 red properties and you have 1 red property, I'm going to try to trade you to get all 3 of them because that's what I need. And that's basically all I'm going to want. Or maybe you want the 2 reds from me. So if you have 2 oranges and I have 2 reds and you have an orange, I have an orange and you have a red, hey, we can trade those. That makes sense. We can trade those properties. Other than that, you might do 3-way trades or 4-way trades, but you're technically not allowed to trade things like, hey, you're not going to have to pay rent in the future. And there's not a whole lot of different options. And if a couple players manage to trade where they will get a set of properties and the other players can't pull that off, then the game can devolve into those players running away with it. Or even worse, if a player or two gets one property of different colors and simply refuses to trade with anybody, then you're going to walk around the board for a long time paying the big whopping values of $18 rent in different spots and just waiting for someone to slowly go bankrupt so you can buy their properties back and do better at the game. And finally, player elimination. When you are out of money, you're out of the game. It's not very much fun to watch everyone else still having a good time when you've been eliminated from game, especially, as I said, from bad luck. And so sometimes, because Monopoly can take a long time, you can be eliminated from the game an hour or so. And just sitting there watching everyone else have fun is not necessarily a good thing. And if you're playing with multiple players, slowly they will be eliminated from the game till only one person is the winner. That's an unfortunate, antiquated way of playing games, and it doesn't do Monopoly any favors. Honestly, my problems with Monopoly are that it's too random, too long, with player elimination. And you roll dice to move around the board. That's almost a kid's mechanism, and yet we as adults tolerate it because we've always played Monopoly. I have a lot of, like I said, fond memories of playing Monopoly as a child, but there are so many better games. And if you say, well, yeah, you roll dice and move around the board, that's what all games do. Well, then you are in for a treat. Watch what we talk about in this channel. Check out our top 10 lists. We point so many games. I've even done a list on here, 10 games better than Monopoly. There are so many games that do a fantastic job where everyone's in the game to the end, where your strategic and tactical choices you make over the course of the game make a difference. So they still have luck in many of them, where you still get to roll dice and see what happens, but there's ways to mitigate that luck. There are good aspects of Monopoly. The trading part can be fun. The drawing a card and seeing some random cool event happen can be fun, but I think those are lost. Most copies of Monopoly are not even played. I've heard tales of big family arguments over Monopoly. Try out some better games. They're out there. This is a game that I have not liked for many, many years. I've recently retried it again just to be silly and fun and found the whole process lacking. It is not a good game, in my opinion, and I don't like it. If you do, that's fantastic. But if you feel like me and you're like, Tom, there seems like there should be better games out there. Oh, there is. Watch our channel, find out about these amazing games, and get rid of Monopoly.